with honor!
Hello and welcome back to Fight with Honor. I'm your host, Honor Valencia, and today's show is brought to you by SoRite. That's PSO-RITE.com. It's a versatile full body massage tool. Helps increase mobility, release pressure, helps you get into harder reach places. I actually use it almost every night before I go to bed, and I try to use it as much as possible before I work out and after. It's helped me a lot, especially on my shoulder. It's really helped me get a lot more mobility and a lot more comfort in my lower back. They ship around the world. You can use discount code HONOR20 for 20% off. So check them out on their website or on Instagram at PSO_RITE. And we're also brought to you by DS Sunglasses. DS Sunglasses. That's DIAS-sunglasses.com or on Instagram at DIAS Sunglasses. That's all one word. They have really high quality glasses at a really affordable price. I have a couple pair that I wear all the time. You can use discount code HONOR25 for 25% off, and that's our sponsors for today's show. And today I'm pleased to bring you my conversation with Jim the Rookie Morris. If you've seen the Disney movie called The Rookie, then you know who I'm talking about. The Rookie is a movie about Jim Morris and his comeback into the major leagues. And that was 18 years ago, and now he has a book coming out. I believe it's June 23rd, which I had a chance to read before I interviewed him. And a great book, I highly recommend it. So we talk about, you know, the movie and things like that, but what also has happened since the movie, and we get into his book and some of the new topics that he talks about. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to him. There was a storm in his area, so there's times where he's talking maybe something kind of serious, and I kind of, you know, grin or laugh or something because there was a delay in what we were talking about. So just a few times that happens. They were having a pretty bad storm where he lives, so that's why. Anyways, so here we go. Here's Jim the Rookie Morris. How's everything going?
It's good, man. We've had some thunderstorms the last couple of days that have kind of blown in, and my friends called from 60 miles down the road, and they're getting a new roof.
even if they didn't want one just quite yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Yes, sir.
And also, I appreciate you sending me a copy of your book. I finished reading it yesterday, and man, I love that book. That was an amazing, amazing book.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is.
How long did it take you to finish writing that?
20 years.
20 years.
It's been a deal where when I spoke, people are like, "Oh, the movie's great and the story's awesome, but what has happened since then?"
Yes.
And since then, a lot has happened, and you know as well as I do. Okay, chapter 10 was what we were waiting for.
Yeah. As you know, I watched the movie The Rookie. I watched that probably. I think it was like middle of April with my family. You know, my 10-year-old son started playing baseball, so we were looking up a lot of baseball movies. And after the movie was over, that's exactly what we thought. Is like, so what's he doing now? Like, what's happened? This movie was 18 years ago. So what's been going on? So I started researching it and couldn't really find much, you know, of what was going on. So that's when I reached out and thought I'd love to have you on my podcast.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So for those that haven't seen the movie, you know, just kind of in a nutshell, it's a movie. How would you kind of make a short version of what the movie's about?
Short version is I pushed a group of kids who nobody believed in, and they pushed their coach back, and we became better as a team because my concept of team may be a little different than others. It's not just the people on the field. It's the people on the bench. It's the coaches, the scorekeepers, the families who come to support us, our school, our city. We represent a whole lot more than ourselves, and we're going to uphold that. And so honor, integrity, character. And so when I pushed them, they pushed back. And this is all honor in a in a time when at 28 I had a surgery in which the doctor said you'll never ever pitch again. And I know you
Yes.
read the book and you see that. And
Yes.
I threw like 88 when I was young and I was supposed to be talented. And then I come back throwing 98 to 102, and everybody wants to know, oh, well, how did that happen? And I go, you want
Yeah.
the secular answer or you want the real answer? And most of the time, we want the real answer. And
Yes.
I'm like, because I wasn't ready when I was 19, and God knew that. If I would have got that when I was 19, I wouldn't have had to work for it. I wouldn't have had to sweat. I wouldn't have had to keep trying and get up and dust myself off and get after it again. It was only after so many failures and then getting up and repeating and trying a different avenue and finding a lot of things I didn't even know were dreams that became dreams, like teaching kids and
Yeah.
working with kids and teaching them the game and being on the other side of being a player. I became a coach. And so we made a bet. If you guys do something that nobody thinks you can do, I'll do something nobody thinks I can do. And they lived up to their end of the bargain. I went to a tryout and I was embarrassed. Honestly, I pull up at Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas, by far the oldest person there other than a scout. And
I was gonna
I'm
say,
watching,
yeah.
yeah, I'm watching all these kids get out of their cars, tall, thin, athletic looking, brand new bodies, brand new gear. I look down at my gut, hang over the elastic band of my softball pants, which is not the picture painted in the movie. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, I
And
was
I
gonna
was
say
like,
Dennis
yeah,
Quaid didn't quite have that gut.
no. I said, what have I done? And see, I've been teaching my kids about their great grandparents because they did so much for me as I grew up. At a time when the church was very religious and rigid, they
Yes.
showed grace and compassion like Christ, and they gave back all the time. Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas presents, paying a bill for somebody, and then doing it anonymously and not wanting anybody to know they had done it. And so they taught me from 15 to 18 how to be. Well, you go through your late teens and your early 20s and you know everything, and that kind of goes by the wayside, but that foundation is set. And so by the time I come back and I fail through minor leagues the first time, I go back to school, get my degree, and then I get this group of kids eventually while I'm coaching in the state of Texas. And they're like, Coach, people drive through here on their way to somewhere else. And it hit me immediately. I'm like, when I was 19 in my little red sports car, I drove to my first spring training through Big Lake, Texas, and I thought, who would live here? And see, I
Yeah.
have this. I tell people I'm God's rebel, right? And I'm like, he has a sense of humor because he goes, you're going to live there. That's where you're going to
You
live. And I'm like, oh, dude. So 15 years later, I end up in Big Lake, Texas, and I had this group of kids, and they were phenomenal. And if you keep telling somebody that they're good, that they're good, that they're good, and then you help them. And my grandfather taught me, if you're going to talk the talk, you better be willing to walk the walk. Don't ask anybody to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. Don't ask somebody else to get dirty when you're standing there, clean as you can be, watching them work. And so we would work out together in the weight room, on the field. We would run together. We even threw grass seed out a couple of times because the deer ate my grass seed. You saw that in the movie. And
Yeah.
they helped me do everything with the field. I brought dirt in from Oklahoma. We redid our whole field because I wanted them to be proud of what people called their home. And so they didn't want anybody coming on what they had built and beating them there. And so I go to the tryout. The scout's 70 years old. Nobody will even warm up with me. This kid in front of me signs up. He walks off, gas away. The scout looks at me and he goes, how many kids you bring to tryout? And I looked down at my kids who are 8, 4, and 1. I said, well, I brought 3. He said, no, 2 to tryout. I said, I brought me, and let me explain. And I explained the whole deal to him. I said, look, I made a promise. And my grandfather said, I'm only as good as my word. And I'm doing this. Either you're going to let me throw, or I got to find somebody else, and they're going to let me throw, but I'm throwing. It's going to be embarrassing. It'll be
Yeah.
humiliating. And the whole deal, Honor, is at the beginning of the season when we made the bet, the kids couldn't hit me. By the end of the season, when we're playing for a district championship, I cannot get these kids out. And so I go to this tryout and I'm like, I can't even get 16, 17-year-old kids out. This is going to be so bad. He goes, I'm going to let you throw last. I threw last and I throw the first pitch. It's a strike. I'm 35. I'm fat. I'm like, that's a good pitch.
That's a good one.
He shakes his radar gun, and I'm like, I don't even register on the radar gun. This is embarrassing. And all the young guys threw like 20 pitches, and when I get up to 60, I'm like, they're making fun of the fat old guy, and that guy is me.
Yeah.
Everybody else had put all their stuff in the cars. It was just me and the catcher and the scouts. And he looked at this one kid and he said, go get your bat and get in the box. And this 20-year-old kid looks at the scout and he goes, you want me to get in there with that? And then it kind of hit me and I'm like, oh, maybe it's not so bad. I get done. My 1-year-old's crying. I go to put him in the car. Gas away, the scout meets me in my car and he goes, I remember you. 15 years ago at Ranger Junior College, you were a football star. Everybody wanted to make a picture out of it. I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I don't know what you've done to your time off aside from eat, but the first pitch you threw without warming up was 94. Everything after that went up to 98. And I'm stunned.
Wow.
You know, if somebody comes up, man, woman, kid, it doesn't matter, and they go, you're throwing 98, there is a happy dance going on up here.
Yeah.
The second thing that hit me was I have been throwing 98 miles an hour at high school kids. I'm getting sued is what I'm getting.
Yeah. That that must have played a big part in their ability to hit once they were facing regular high school kids.
It was amazing, and the kid who beat us on the second round of the playoffs was throwing lollipops up there, and my kids were way too out in front, and we couldn't adjust. And it was because I threw hard at them all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's go back a little bit about your upbringing. You were born in San Diego. Your father was in the Navy. You moved around a lot. How many cities do you think you lived in from birth to the time you graduated high school?
By the time I got to high school, I believe in ninth grade in Brownwood, that became the 30th school I'd been to.
30th school.
Yeah, constantly the new kid, constantly picked on. At this point, I'm like 6 foot and 130 pounds. And so you get picked on.
Freshman year?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the only thing I had going for me was baseball at that time, and then football. And then people found out I could run, and then we ran track. And they're like, hey, he's a pretty good athlete. We're going to leave him alone. And
yeah.
But that move was the best thing that ever happened to me. I watched my parents for the first part of my life throw, hit, and curse each other and do things you promise never, ever to do when you walk down the aisle of a church.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this firsthand. I'm part of it. My dad's beating me, and he's verbally telling me you'll never make it with all these F words here and there, and you're sorry. You don't mean anything. He held my brother in his arms, my little brother, and he looked down at me. He goes, this is the one we wanted.
I remember reading that in the book, and I had to put it down, and I woke my wife up, and I was like, could you imagine, hearing this? And she was still half asleep, and she was like, what? And I just read this part in the book, and we couldn't sleep after that. We were just sitting there thinking, like, what would that do to a child to hear that?
Yeah, it's terrible. I look at it now. I'm 56 years old, and I look through your list of questions. I didn't read them real tightly because I like to answer stuff off the cuff, because a lot of times, God gives me better answers just shooting out quickly. But I look back at that, and people go, well, how did you come through all that? And I think that God was with me the whole time. And I just had a guardian angel looking out for me, because the one time that he comes in drunk in the middle of the night, and my German Shepherd Nick is on the end of the bed, and he's coming into my room probably to beat me, and for nothing. And my dog jumps out of the bed and takes him down the stairs by his throat. And the next day, my dog is gone.
Yeah, I remember reading that too. Just there were so many parts of your book, that I couldn't believe that there was kids going through this type of stuff.
It's amazing. And I've worked with kids long enough to realize every single kid has a story.
Yeah.
They've got a story to tell. And I just don't want those kids to have to wear that story on their heart, because that is, to me, why do you work with kids? Because I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids that wasn't supposed to make it. I was supposed to die as soon as I came out of my mom's womb. You've got asthma. Oh, you've got pneumonia. You're not going to make it. And then my father, we'd get transferred. He'd drive across country in a car with the windows rolled up, smoking like a freight train, with a kid with severe asthma.
Yeah.
And it's just thing after thing. He blamed me. He goes, "We had to get married because of you." And I'm like, as a kid, you take it all in and you're like, okay, that's my fault too. And you wear that like a heavy coat. And it's
How old were
destructive.
you when he said that to you?
Probably 8.
8. And I don't know if you remember like that exact moment when he said that to you, or like how long did it take you to process that, or to fully understand what he was saying to you?
I don't know that I processed that until a few years ago. I just carried a lot of
Really?
anger, and it was more than anger. Fury is a good word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody goes, "Well, what made you such a good athlete?" I was a good athlete because he told me I couldn't be. And
Yeah.
everything I've
That
ever
was one of
done.
the things I was going to ask you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I even wrote down like this is such a terrible question to ask, but I wanted to ask if you felt that if your relationship would have been different with your father, if you would have had a great relationship with him, do you still think you would have succeeded in sports as you did?
I think with him being a very good athlete when he
Mm,
was young, I think he
yeah,
could have helped me immensely. But the world was about him, and everything that went wrong
yeah.
was everybody else's fault. And he blamed everybody, and I was the dog he kicked around.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. There's just so many parts of that book that now I have 2 boys, and I grew up, my father, he drank and stuff, but he never hit us or anything like that. He maybe got a little loud or obnoxious at some parties and stuff like that, but never anything like that. And so I just kind of try to put myself as a father to to how could you do that to your children? And I just have no idea. So he must have had a lot of things that he was dealing with as well to make him do all of that.
I think he's got a lot of demons. There are several different businesses and schools where I've spoken that have people that went to school with my dad when he was young, and they said
Mm,
he was like that from day one. He would play baseball, he would pitch, he would hit somebody just so he could fight. He didn't care. He just wanted to fight, and he fought his
really?
whole life. That's why he got transferred so much, because he couldn't keep his temper under control.
Yeah. Also, okay. Yeah, I remember reading that in the book. That's why you guys constantly kept being transferred to different places.
Yeah.
Wow. Hmm.
The
And
sad part of that, he is probably the smartest person I've ever seen in my life, but he chose to talk about life when other people go out and live it.
yeah, I always wonder what makes people, go this way instead of going that way, especially when they had so much talent. Like you said, he was so smart, and he was also very, very athletic. So
Yeah.
just wonder what made him go this way. And you also mentioned that you wondered why your mother didn't step in and save you guys. And how did you keep that inside of you? How did you live with that and carry that with you? That feeling towards your mother.
I was angry at her for a long time too, because I'm like, how could you let this guy attack me? And when he would go out to
Yeah.
sea on the submarines, I was happy because I would get to breathe a little bit. My mom would be in a better mood. And then he would come home and this dark cloud just came over the house and it was just miserable. And life shouldn't be like that. And I just want
Yeah.
kids and families to know, you know what, we need to start being nice to each other, because this isn't about how many people I can step on. This is about who I can lift up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's kind of sad. It seems like as we're going on in time, there seems to be I don't know if it's actually more child abuse going on or anything, or it's just now because of social media, it's posted a lot more and we're made more aware of it. But man, it's just constantly seeing all these negative things on Instagram or Facebook, whatever social media I'm using, and sometimes I just sit back and wonder, has it always been this bad? Is it getting worse, or is it, like I said, just because now people are able to post about it?
I think uh, social media has had a big surge in bringing it out, but I think overall, as a planet, as everybody on this planet, I think that back in the day there were fewer people. It was still the same percentage of bad people. I think it's the same way today. There's still the same percentage. There's just more of us, and so it seems like it's more
Yeah,
prevalent.
that's
But
true. Yeah, that makes sense. How long did it take for you to get all of that negativity and all of those, the bad things that he said to you, to get that out of your mind and to kind of release that?
I have a group of ladies at my church. I call them my girls, and you read that. And
Yeah.
I call them my girls because they're like 50 to 90, and they don't want me to call them ma'am, and they don't want me to call them ladies. They're my girls. And they pray for me constantly. And there's been times when I've been in church minding my own business, and one of them will come grab me and take me to a room in the back of the church. There's 20 ladies there, and they start praying for me, and they're like, you need to get something off your chest. And so I've had to forgive my father. I forgave my mom a long time ago. She was just part of an equation that she couldn't get out of. Back in the day, you didn't walk away from that. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you just dealt with it. And she dealt with it poorly. She knows she dealt with it poorly. And she knows she should have left, but she didn't have the strength.
Yeah.
But I've had to forgive my father. And they told me I will have to keep forgiving my father. So it took me until I was 50 to go, I forgive you, not so we can have a relationship, not so we can be buddies, but so I can move on. I forgive you for everything
Yeah.
you've done and everything I've ever thought about you. It's time for me to move on. I am very happy that you are part of what brought me into this world. And now it's time for me to go out and do my part. And, he died a few years ago. And before that, my grandmother died at 98. And the last time I talked to my dad, I went up to him in the church at my grandmother's funeral. I put my arm on his back and I said, I am so sorry. And he looked up at me and he said, don't ever effing talk to me again, in the middle of
Wow.
church. And I thought, you
Wow.
still carry so many demons, so many demons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and was that because of the movie, or did you have other falling outs with him that made him react that way, or?
In the movie, he shows up at the ball game. That happened.
Yeah.
And I gave him the ball and I tried to repair this thing from my side, this relationship.
Mm.
And I went above and beyond, and it just never worked out. He never apologized. The only thing he ever said to me is, it's not as bad as you think it was. And I'm like, how
Mm.
can you tell me what I went through and it's not as bad as I think it was? That's my perception of
Yeah.
what went on. That's what happened to me. I know what happened to me. I know you beat me. I know you cursed me. I, I know
Yeah.
you said things to me you should never say to your son. When you're supposed to be lifting me up, you're stamping me down and you're holding me back. That was the relationship. And that was nothing even brought that on. I just went up to express my condolences and he just lashed out. And I thought, God is telling me right now to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's what we got to do. You said your piece, and that's all you can do. How has the way you were raised, how has that influenced or affected you as a parent?
As a parent, I've learned how not to do things.
Yeah.
I've learned I don't want to beat my kids. I don't want to tell them they're worthless. I don't want to tell them they can't achieve their dreams. I want them to go out. I want to reach for the stars, man. There are so many things you can
Yeah.
do, and you can go chase anything you want to. Go do it. And I've got
Yeah.
5 kids. They're all chasing their dreams. They're all out of the house. Nobody's in jail. Everybody's successful. And my wife and I, Shauna, we're very blessed because our kids have been fantastic. Her two and my three, we've mixed them together, and we are one family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, a lot of times people fall into that same trap of the way they were raised. They continue that. But it's great when people are able to see that and say, this is not what I want for my kids, and able to turn that around for their own family.
Yeah, when I was married to my ex-wife and she told me she was pregnant, we had made a deal while we were dating to never have kids because I was afraid I would be like him. And then
Oh, really? Wow.
from the moment they put Hunter in my arms, all I could do was cry and think, who could ever touch a kid?
Yeah.
Who could touch God's property? This is a child of God. Why
Yeah.
would you hit them and curse them? And I just melted. And being a parent is something I didn't want to do. And God made me do it 5 times. And so I guess he thinks I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's kind of actually the audio is kind of freezing up a little bit and you're getting a little
Um,
blurry.
we got a few storms in the area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably why. Okay. It sometimes it cuts off a little bit, but then the voice comes in and pretty much catching everything that you're saying, but the video's getting a little blurry, so
Okay.
we'll keep going though. Okay. Yeah. And I wanted to ask, because of the relationship with your father, to have somebody like Brian Cox to play your father in the movie. How was that to watch such an amazing actor portray your father in the movie?
Do you want the real answer?
The real answer.
I walked in the night Dennis was giving Brian Cox the ball, my
Yeah,
dad.
yeah,
And when he got done with that scene, he was done with the movie. And as he walked off, everybody gave him a standing ovation. And I'm like, who is that? And then I go home and he's in every single movie I watch. And I'm like, oh my God, I am stupid. And amazing actor and just fantastic. And
yes,
he did he did a great job of expressing that there were a lot of difficulties without going into detail. And for a Disney movie, that was pretty good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one thing. When I was watching the movie, it doesn't. It was probably because it was a Disney movie. They didn't get too much into like the abuse and things like that. But just from watching him in the movie, I was thinking, man, that had to be worse than what they're actually showing. And then when I read your book, I was like, yeah,
Well, we had a choice. Dennis and I had a choice. Do you want to do a G-rated movie or do you want to use our
mm,
sister company and do more? And we were like, he was going through a divorce. I was going through a divorce. We both have kids. And I'm like,
mm,
this is a movie about kids. It's not a movie about marriage. It's not a movie
yeah,
about difficulties or getting beat. This is a movie about chasing your dreams and getting a second chance. For kids and for older people, it's about getting back up and getting after it and realizing something. And then the moment you get it, it is so much more than anything you could have dreamed to begin with.
yeah, that makes sense. And the way the movie was produced and everything, it was just an amazing movie, and it did just that. It highlighted the kids and how they had no hope, and how you had pretty much given up on playing baseball. It was just a great combination of everything. That was an amazing movie.
It was pretty good when it came out. Before it came out, Disney asked Shauna and me to go down to Burbank and watch the movie. And so we sit there, and
Mm.
at that time, the movie is 3.5 hours. It's in black and white. There's no music, and there's sound gaps. And we get done, and they look at us and are like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then 2 weeks later, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, introducing the movie to the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in this big
Yeah.
coliseum, and I'm supposed to talk after they watch the movie. And so I sit there and I watch this movie, and I had to stop crying before I could go up and talk. I was blown away.
Yeah. 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 How long did it take you to recover from that before you could get up and talk after you watched it?
It took me about 5 minutes to get my composure back because
Yeah.
I was there with the filming process, and but we filmed it from the end to the beginning. And then Sean and I watched it, and it wasn't done yet. And then a few weeks later, I'm watching it in Nashville, and to me, it was perfect. They did a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. So they filmed from the end to the beginning. Is that normal for movies, or was that just specific to your movie?
They did that. They did that for the high school field, so they could have it clean and cut and
Oh,
everything. And then as they ran on it and filmed on it and put all their equipment on it, it got older and worse, and they destroyed it.
yeah.
And then it was.
Yeah.
Then you go back to the beginning.
They think of everything, don't they?
Man, there are 200 people on a movie set doing things I never even thought was a job.
Oh man. Yeah, that makes sense after you explained that. But at first I was like, how would that even make sense to film it backwards? But yeah. And from the filming of the movie, how do you feel that affected your marriage at that time, or even shortly after?
Here's the deal. I got the dream that I'd wanted since I was 5 years old. I got to go to the big leagues.
Yeah.
I got to play on the big stage. At the same time, I have a reporter come up to me in the clubhouse and he goes, well, I want to do a 60-minute expose on you and your story, but I have to ask you about the affair. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He goes, the affair. And I said, man, I have been coaching. I drove an hour each way to work every day, there and home. I work with my kids. I got home. I tried out. I went to baseball. They've been killing me to get back in shape. I've lost all this weight. I haven't had time to breathe. He goes, I wasn't talking about you. And so while you're going through the best part of your life, the personal side of it is horrible.
Yeah.
And so you're going through the worst of times and the best of times. But I'll tell you what, that marriage never should have happened. I thought I could fix her. She thought she could fix me. Everybody on both sides of our families were going, you guys don't need to get married. And when you're young and dumb,
Yeah.
you're like, we're going to make this work. And it didn't. I got great kids out of it. I'm
Yeah.
excited about my kids. I love my kids dearly. They talk to me all the time. But it shouldn't have taken place. And then for the second marriage with Shauna, it was a blind date in which I thought, I'm not ever going to date a woman again. This is not happening. And she was like, I don't
Yeah.
ever want to go on a date. I'm too busy. And then we get married. And this November, it'll be 18 years. And it is the best
How,
thing
how
that
many how
happened.
many years?
It'll be 18 in November.
18 years. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. We raised five
Yeah.
kids,
It's
and it's been a huge blessing because she has faith, I have faith, and our faith has grown stronger together because when you surround yourself with people like you, it makes you want to be a better person. And I want to be
yeah.
a better person.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I think that's something we should all strive to be. But yeah, I think that makes a big difference when you both are focused on the same thing and you have the same goals of being better. You help each other to improve, and it also helps to have somebody there to call you out when you're not being your best. Because sometimes it's easy to not do the right thing, or of course I'm not saying like we're gonna go do something really bad, but it's just some simple little things, and it's nice to have somebody there to kind of call you out on it and say, hey, well, do you think that's the best way to handle that situation? Okay, maybe you're right.
Road rage, anything like that. Be nice, be calm, smile.
Always smile. Yep. Oh, it's funny. And how hard was it, if if this was an issue at all, to not get caught up into that Hollywood life during the filming and the premieres and all the traveling, because you guys got to use the private jets and all that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you this: getting to fly around on a Disney jet
Yeah.
and have a private cook on the plane who cooked anything we wanted whenever we wanted was amazing. Riding in a plane with Dennis, a star who had been in over 50 movies at that time, that was awesome. But here's the deal: Dennis and I are friends. You read the book, you've seen the forward, he's endorsing it. We're still friends, we still communicate. We've had a big impact on each other. I went to his mom's funeral last fall. Other than that, there are people in Hollywood. I like Texas.
Yeah.
You know what? Give me my people, and you guys go do what you're going to do, because you live in a different world. And I didn't understand that completely until we were having parties for everybody who endorsed the movie. And so we're in Vegas, and Russell Athletics is putting on this big event, and there are 500 people in this room made for about 100 people, and we couldn't breathe. And Dennis comes over to me and he tugs me on the arm and he goes, "Let's get out of here, man. I got to get out." And so we go out into the casino and we sit down at this blackjack table, and he's playing a few hands. We're drinking a water, and there is nobody in the casino, nobody. And so we're talking because we've been hanging out for 4 years. I look up and there's 500 people around us, literally. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're Dennis Quaid." And so people treat them and they put them up on this pedestal. And sometimes that's hard to keep your humble when you're being treated and given everything you could possibly want.
Yeah. I think it's hard for us to understand what, especially like A-list actors or professional athletes that are at the top, what they go through and what their life is like. They can't even go to the grocery stores. Like, I just remember reading about Michael Jordan. He would go, I think it was something like he would go shopping after it closed. He had a special agreement with the supermarket. They would let him in. He would do his grocery shopping and then go home because he couldn't go anywhere.
You can't imagine that. I go to the grocery store and I sneeze and everybody's looking at me like I've poisoned everybody now.
Yeah, especially now, right? You can't sneeze anywhere.
Yeah.
That's funny. And back to the major leagues, your last pitch. After you let that last pitch go, walked off the field, what did that feel like for you? After everything you'd been through to get back and
I think the last pitch for me, I think it could have been better. But I think that God had a plan for me, and he wanted to show me a snippet of what could have been had I done things the way he wanted me to do things. But I was young and stupid and I didn't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
And then when I came back with the Dodgers in 2001, literally in 5 days, I'm in LA throwing at Chavez Ravine. I'm throwing 100. I'm ready to go. I drive through Texas on the way to Vero Beach when the Dodgers were still there. In 5 days, I can't judge the ball. I can't hardly throw the ball. We're playing pepper, and I'm stumbling over my own feet. I take batting practice because we're in the National League now, and I swing at a ball, and it hits my fingers, and I'm like, what is going on? And at that same time, Hunter calls me and says, "Dad, when are you coming home?" And so I've got all this, and God talks to us. It's up to us to listen.
Yes.
And not everything is go do this and go do that, and this is what you need to do, and this is the right way. It's in a whisper. And if we're too loud ourselves, we don't hear that whisper. I got that. And when I didn't get the baseball part of it, he had my son call me and ask for me to come home. And that's what I did. And I went home and I got my kids, and we go to the movie set and my kids meet Dennis, and I think they're going to be all excited because he was in Parent Trap, and they're like, "Where's the food?" I'm like, "Oh, great."
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, They're not too interested in the things sometimes that we think they're going to be excited about.
Exactly.
They got their own things that they're looking forward to. And when you guys were releasing the movie, do I remember correctly that it was initially released in Japan? Was that the first place?
I think we came, yeah, I think it released and then it came to America and then Disney took me to Japan and they had a filming of it. And so I'm on stage with this little old lady, and I'm sorry, I don't want to say old, this person older than me, and she is my interpreter. And so people are asking questions from the audience, and it's a huge auditorium. And so
Yeah.
she's answering for me, and they're asking a question. I give an answer, and she looks at me and she smiles, and she talks for 10 minutes. And I'm like, I did not say all that. She goes, honey, I'm taking care of you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've lived in Japan now for 10 years, and there's some things that just don't translate from English to Japanese or vice versa. And so sometimes you gotta something so simple, you gotta explain it in detail in the other language. So it takes so long. I've had the same situation like at my son's school with teachers, and they're saying something so long, and no, tell me everything she said. She's like, yeah, that's it. How was your experience in Japan?
Loved it. It is probably the most pleasant culture I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah,
The people in Japan were unbelievably nice. And the first place I'd been where if you tip somebody, it's an insult. And I had
yeah,
to learn a lot
no
very
tips.
quickly, but it was an amazing trip. The culture there and the shrines and everything, the people are the most amazing people I've ever met. And I've been all over the planet now speaking,
Yeah,
but that was the most fun I've ever had. I want to take my wife back there. My agent went with me the first time, but I want to take Shauna so we can
yeah,
go and see more of Japan because I want to meet more people and talk to them and just, I want to hang out, man, and just sightsee and take my
yeah,
time and not have to be this person who is put up in front of people and we're going to entertain. And I want maybe to speak to a group and then just take 5, 6, 7 days and just travel around seeing everything.
yeah, yeah. That would be great. That'd be great. If you want to plan anything like that, let me know, and I'll see what I can get together over here too. That's something I was actually thinking about. Having you come out here would be an amazing thing, and having like the younger generation listen to you speak, I think would be great for the people here.
Here's what hit me today. I'm walking, right? And so God talks to me when I'm walking.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I've had a lot of problems with chapter 9.
Yeah,
And I'm like, how do I bring that out? I am a motivational speaker. And if I talk about my issues, that's going to be bad. And he's going, no, it's not.
hmm.
And he said, that is a problem everywhere on the planet. You need to talk and you need to talk freely because people need to hear what you have to say. They need the word. And so we put it out there. We did the chapter and then we did the faith chapter and added on. And that's going to freak some
Yeah,
people out. But you know what?
yeah,
I wasn't ever supposed to throw again. And
yeah.
I had Parkinson's and you're never going to walk again. It's just going to get worse. And I'm running now. And so everybody's wrong. Medical field, they don't know everything. They have their own little
Yep.
box where they think in, and they can't think out of that box because that freaks them out. And so if they can keep us in that box, that's where they want us.
Yeah, that was I had something similar like that when here in Japan because I've been
That's better.
okay. So yeah, like I said, I've been battling lupus for 15 years. Almost lost my battle 3 different times. The last time was here in Japan, and I was in the hospital for 2 months. And the doctor, he grabbed my shoulder and he said, "You're not going to make it past tonight. I'm sorry. We've done everything we can." And I had my Bible in my hand, and I've been reading it all the time. I just grabbed him on the shoulder and I said, "Don't worry, I'm going to be okay." And we're friends now, and we talk about this all the time. He's like, "In my mind, when you said that, I was thinking, I'm sorry, but you're going to die before the sun comes up." Here I am, you
Exactly.
know. Yeah.
You know what? You know what that means? That means God still has work for us to do.
Yep. Yep. We're not done. Not done. That's and I can understand where the medical professionals are coming from, because they have to focus on on what they were taught in school, and that's it. So I've had doctors tell me that I'm never going to be able to be back in the gym, be as strong as I was before, and I'm actually in better shape than before I got lupus. And so yeah, that was one thing from your book that I really could relate to, was the doctors telling you you're not going to be able to do this, and also the faith part, because that's what's helped me get through all the things that I've been through as well. So those two chapters, really, I was really glad you put in the faith aspect into the book.
I don't push my faith on people, but I
Yeah.
don't hide either. I don't hide either. And if you ask me a question about it, I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to give you my real answer. I'm not going
Yeah.
to hide behind the hedges. But if I need to,
Yeah.
I can walk the line and I do whatever God wants me to do, and I'll say the things He wants me to say. And for 20 years, that's been my prayer every time I walk out on stage. God, just let me reach whoever it is you want me to reach today. And that's how I go about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great way. It's a great way to live life, and a great perspective to have of how to be able to reach people. Um, so, have you thought about trying to make another comeback since you were able to do it the first time? Any chance of you getting back out there and trying out someone?
I don't think I could pass a physical. I've got so much metal in me right now, but I wouldn't want to either. I am happy
Yeah.
and content doing what I'm doing. And in the book, I talk about the dream you start chasing may not be the one you end up loving the most. Never in
Yeah.
my life did I want to speak in front of groups of people. And I've talked to 10 people in a high rise in Chicago, and I've talked to 25,000 people at Busch Stadium. And it is a blast. It is the most fun I've ever had. And everybody has a story. And I love hearing the stories after I talk of people who have
Yeah.
been affected by either my movie or somebody else's movie, or they've overcome their own obstacles and they've gone out and done more than even they thought they could do and gone above and beyond, and they surprised everybody. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's something that kind of sticks out the most, that's most memorable, that somebody said to you, "Hey, I watched your movie, or I read your book, and this is what happened to me after."
I'm at a breakfast in San Francisco. I'm speaking there. I'm signing autographs. I'm taking pictures. This breakfast is for millionaires. These are guys who own businesses in
Mm.
San Francisco. And after everybody gets their picture and everybody gets to shake my hand, which we're not allowed to do anymore because we have social distancing,
Yeah.
they all
Yeah.
leave. And this lady who is a waitress or table person comes up to me, and she's been there the whole time. I've seen her. And you're a dad, you know this. When you become a father, something happens to your heart, and
Yeah.
God goes, now you're going to have emotions because it's not just about you anymore. And so when I see her, she's walking towards me and she's crying. And so
Mm.
I start crying, and she walks up and she hugs me and she goes, you helped save me and my kids. And I'm like, what
Wow.
are you talking about? And she said, when that movie came out, my husband had just left me, and I took my kids to that movie. And I want you to know that since then, I've gone to medical school. I'm getting my
Wow.
medical degree, and I just bought my kids their first house, and we're chasing our dreams. And I'm just like, woof, you're doing what you need
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine the feeling of having somebody, and especially in that setting, you're there talking to millionaires, and the one
Yeah.
person that came up to you and you were able to touch them the most was the person that was there working.
See, we don't know who's listening. So
Yeah.
we've got to watch ourselves and speak life into everybody, because that person who needs life the most may be at the back of the room, and we don't know it until the end, and we may change their life and we'll never know it, but it changed their life.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too is we we can focus on the wrong people. We can think like, oh, this group is the group that can help me in the future, or this group can help me do this. I'm going to focus all my attention on them. But you don't know who, like you said, who else is there, who else you can reach and touch that's going to go out and do something later in life. So you got to be open to focusing on everybody that's in the room, not just the group that you think is going to help you in the future.
See, I kind of did what you said at the beginning when I started speaking. And then I started having people like that lady talk to me after everybody else had left the big room or wherever we were. And I've had sound people who work different shows. So I've seen them 4 or 5 times. And when I walk in, they remember my name. They're excited. And they're like, can you take a picture of me? Can you call Bob? It's his birthday. And he really wants to say hi because you touched him so much when he heard you talk.
Yeah.
And it's the people at the back of the room sometimes that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah. That's something I've also learned, either here in Japan or when I was back in the States, is you can't just target whoever you think is going to help you. You got to be able to reach everybody, and be open to whoever wants to approach you, because you never know what they're going to say or how that could benefit you as well.
Here's an analogy. Jesus never went up to the wealthy people thinking he was going to win everybody over. He went to the people that everybody counted out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Didn't even think about that right now, so that's a good point. Oh man. Let's switch a little bit over to when you went to rehab. That chapter of the book was very interesting to hear. The process that not only you but other people there had to go through. Man, when you first, I don't want to give away too much from the book, but when you first got in there and you had the preparation before they would let you in, the jumping jacks and all that stuff, I couldn't believe that's what actually happens.
Yeah, I couldn't either. And if you want to get sober real quick, be 50 years old and have to do naked jumping jacks in front of a bunch of guys who are looking for drugs to fall out. And that Christmas of 2016, I don't remember. I got my pills mixed up. I never abused the pills. I did what the doctors told me, except I screwed up and mixed them up because they looked alike, and added my own concoction of vodka because the pain was so bad that I'm going to add this. End up on a plane. We land in Dallas on the way to Florida, and my wife, we're riding the tram over to the next terminal to catch our plane, and I'm sitting on one knee, and I look up at her and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm taking you to get well." And all I could do is I looked up and I went, "Well, I'll trust you." And that is probably the hardest and the best month of my life, because for the first time in my life, I got to look at me, and I got to work on me, and I got to reset and re-challenge myself and decide, am I going to take this? Am I going to listen to my neurologist go, this is just Parkinson's, you're just going to get worse, and keep trying to drown all my sorrows in alcohol? Or am I going to quit this? And while I'm going through that conversation, the pastor calls me into his office at the rehab center, and he loves baseball. Been to every Major League Baseball stadium in the country, artifacts from everywhere. He calls me in, he sits me down, and he looks at me, he goes, "Love the story, love the movie. Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I lost my faith. I stumbled. I listened to everybody telling me I was going to fail, and it overwhelmed me. And so I thought I could hide on my couch while my girls and my wife went to church, and so I could sit there and I could drink and feel sorry for myself." And he goes, "Where was Jesus?" And I go, "He was right beside me. I know that." He goes, "So you had Jesus beside you?" I said, "Yeah, he's my co-pilot." He goes, "Let me put it this way. If you had Jesus in your car Why would you not let him be in control?
Yeah.
And something hit me and a light switch went off and I was just like, oh, well, then I'm not giving up. And during those 30 days, every single day I went to every class I could. I learned everything I could. I sat in my room and read my Bible. God talked to me every night. I would get up before dawn so I could walk before everybody else got up because they smoke like freight trains and I can't stand cigarette smoke from childhood.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around this track every day. And my counselor goes, "How many laps you do today?" I said, 170. And she goes, "Why?" And I said, because I've been to so many places in this world that you see me walking around this track in Florida. I said, but I'm not here. I'm climbing a volcano in Hawaii or Bora Bora. I'm in Japan looking at all the shrines. I'm in Switzerland looking at Montreux and the lake there going, this is beautiful. I can be anywhere I want to be. You see me walking here, but up here, I'm fixing this. And she just looked at me and she goes, that is probably the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I went from being mad to helping other patients to helping staff in 2 weeks. The first week mad, the second week patients, the third week staff, the fourth week went so slow because I knew that God had fixed me and I was ready to go and move on, but I wasn't allowed to go home yet. And so I had to wait the whole time. And so when Shauna picked me up, it was amazing. It was a new me. And I got Jim Morris back.
Yeah. Well, not only you, everybody around you got Jim Morris back. So I'm sure a lot of people were very happy that you took that time to go in for a month. And one thing that you mentioned is the cost. You kind of broke down a little bit of the cost for rehab. Yeah. I was surprised how much it costs and how little is covered by insurance.
It's an amazingly terrible thing that we're not trying to help the people who really want and need help. And I understand because there were people there who were there to stay out of jail. But there were honestly people there who wanted to get well and didn't know how to do it and couldn't do it on their own. And I had a guy who was my friend. We went to church every Sunday. We went to church at the center. And he called me every day talking to me about how to fix his problems with his family. And I'm walking him through step by step. He gets his kids back and he's starting to live well. His daughter becomes a model and then it stops. And I don't know what happens. And then 2 years later, his sister texts me because she has his cell phone and I've left messages on it. And she said, Smitty died. And he went home and started drinking again.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you talked about him in the book, but at that point, you didn't know what happened to him. So I was wondering if you ever found out. Oh man, that's got to be to get that message. And it wasn't a phone call. You just got a message from the sister?
Yeah. I didn't know her at all. She was just letting me know.
Yeah. Wow. That's got to be very shocking to pick up a phone and read something like that.
Yeah, I had sent his kids pictures of me pitching, autographed pictures, and a couple of baseballs. And I kept texting and calling, and I didn't get an answer. And I'm like, but he asked for this. And I wanted to send this to him. And then nothing. And so this person, that's what we don't know. We don't know who's going to be well and who's going to be move on and who's going to slip. And so we've got to hold each other accountable and lift each other up.
Yeah. And a little bit more about the drinking and the medication you are on. What were they prescribing you? Was it oxy, how do you say it? Oxycodone or something like that?
Oxycodone, and then
Yeah.
something like Xanax, also because of my anxiety, which I later learned at the
Mm,
center. Yeah, you don't mix those, and you definitely don't mix them with
yeah.
alcohol because that sends
With
you on
alcohol.
you can't get out. And that's why I don't
Yeah.
remember anything, is because I was a walking blackout, is what I was.
Yeah. 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 When I was first diagnosed with lupus, I was in so much pain. I mean, I was just laying on my parents' couch, couldn't even get out of up from the couch. My mother had to feed me. I was in really bad shape, and my doctor prescribed me. I think it was oxycodone as well, and I took it once, and I felt like I was floating in the air. It was it was one of the most amazing feelings I've ever had. And
Yeah.
I once I started kind of coming down, I gave the bottle to my mother and I said, throw these away because this feels way too good. I would rather sit here and feel the pain and feel myself recover instead of having this medication that I don't even know what's going on, if I'm getting better or not. Just, I don't want to see these pills anymore. So I took it once and that was it. That was, I still remember that feeling.
Yeah, my wife can't take them either. She
Yeah.
had neck surgery a few years ago, and she suffered for 4 or 5 months with just horrible pain, but she wouldn't take the painkillers.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so I could really understand how people can get addicted to that stuff, and like especially when you mix alcohol or you combine it with other medications that you're not supposed to, that stuff can be really really addicting. And I know myself, I have an addictive personality. Like when I play golf, when I was playing golf, I was playing all the time. When I go to the gym, I'm at the gym all the time. So
Yeah.
I said, nah, this is not for me.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you have that type of personality. And
Yeah.
my wife will look at me and my kids are like, "Why do you work out all the time?" I said, "Because I like to keep busy now because 3 years ago I couldn't walk and my mom bought me a cane and I was dragging my leg around and now I can run." I said, "I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop when God wants me to stop." We know the beginning and we know the end, and He's with us the whole journey, but it's our journey because we have free will. And it's up to us on what we're going to
Yeah.
do.
Yes, yes, 100%. 100%. We're presented with options and choices, and a lot of times we know what's right, and a lot of times we convince ourselves that this is right, even though deep down inside we know that that's not what we should be doing. And when we make that choice and things don't turn out right, then we want to blame somebody instead of blaming ourselves.
Yeah, here's the deal, and I've known this for a long time, but now I pay attention.
Mm,
When that inner voice is talking to you, and I've had kids ask me that, we have that voice saying, "Don't do this," and then we go do it and we get in trouble. What is that voice? And I
mhm.
said, "Have you ever heard of the Holy Spirit?" And they're like, "Well, yeah,
I'm sorry.
we,
Heard of the what? It kind of cut out. Heard of the what?
the Holy Spirit."
Oh, okay.
I said,
Yes.
I said, that voice inside of you is steering you in the right direction. It's your choice on whether you want to
Yeah.
listen to it or not.
Yeah. Uh, it's I've had so many times in my life where I can feel that what I'm doing is wrong. I can feel that the choices I'm making, I shouldn't make them, even though it feels good in that moment. But deep down inside, I know that what I'm doing is not what I'm supposed to, and you just keep doing it. And you just keep doing it until something major happens. For me, it took almost losing my life three different times to lupus to really kick me into gear to trying my hardest not to lose track of doing what I'm supposed to do. Each time I'd get better, after I was good back in the gym, fit, I'd start going to nightclubs again. I'd start, doing all the stuff I was doing before.
Here's the deal, Honor, and I want people who listen to you to understand this. Everybody's a sinner.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter if you murder somebody, you run around on your wife, you go to the bar when you should be watching your kids, you say something you shouldn't say. We're all sinners, and God looks at every sin the same.
yeah,
We are a fallen people because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. And that has made us have free will, but it's also made us prone to making very, very bad decisions. And we need to start listening to that inner voice going, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we'll all be better off, because I do the same thing. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do that extra mile. You shouldn't eat that extra piece of banana bread. You had gastric bypass. You're not supposed to drink sodas. What do? I love Dr. Peppers. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. The doctor goes, you can't process Dr. Pepper. And I said, watch me. And life's a battle, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a constant battle. And you've probably felt the same thing, that when you're on the right track, it's like you're battling even more and more. When you're doing what you're not supposed to, it seems to kind of things run smooth. But as soon as you want to make that turn and start doing the right thing, that's when things really get tough. And that's where our faith is really tested.
That's where the attacks come in.
Yes.
When you're doing the right thing and you're trying to bring in people, that's when you're going to get attacked.
Yep.
That's when things are going to get tough. And
Yep.
that's when you need to push through, because the liar is going to try to convince you to turn back and go
Yes.
the other way. And that's
Yeah.
not what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're out there doing what you're not supposed to, there's no reason for any attacks to come and try to get you. You're already there. They already have you. But
That's
like
right.
you said,
They
as soon
already
as you
got
start
you.
doing the right thing, that's, yep. What would you say is the biggest test of faith that you've had so far?
I could say rehab. That's an easy answer.
Yeah.
I never missed a speech because I was drunk or because I had too many pills. I showed up to every event. It was the in-between times that got me in trouble. The hardest thing for me, honestly, was putting on paper chapter 10, and then putting the feather on the front cover, which people will understand when they get to chapter 10 what that feather is about. That was tough, because I'm a
Yeah.
motivational speaker, and businesses don't want people who talk about their faith to show up and go, we're going to talk about faith. And that's not what
Yeah.
I've ever done. That's not what I'm going to do now. But that is a part of who I am. And if people ask
Yeah.
me, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I remember reading that part, and that's something I've dealt with as well. As I own an apparel company, and all of my logos have a small cross on them to represent my faith in Jesus. And I donate to like Lupus and a lot of other stuff through my apparel company. And I've talked to a lot of big companies that wanted to do some type of collaboration, but they've said, well, we love your logo, we love what you stand for, but you got to take that cross off. I said, all right, see you later. Can't do that. I'd rather sell one T-shirt with the cross than thousands of them without a cross on it. So, and sometimes you start thinking, I went through. I remember sitting on the train here in Japan, and I was thinking, man, if I do this deal, it's going to be worth a lot, and then I can talk about my faith after. But I was just kind of kidding myself, just to make it okay to not stand strong in what I believe. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're on the train and battling the decision to get rich
Yeah.
or be strong.
Yes. Yep. So I was on the train trying to convince myself that removing the cross from my logo wasn't that big of a deal, and I could reach more people after and everything. And I just, at the end, I didn't feel good about it. And so I talked to my wife, and we said, you know what, let's just forget about this and turn down any type of collaboration.
Sometimes reaching one person at a time is exactly what God wants us to do, and He puts us in the place to do that. I wouldn't take that cross off your shirt. If you know what you're doing and you have that faith, you stick with it, and you don't look back and you don't look around, and you go, this is who I am. This is my identity. I'm not taking it off.
Yep.
Because now I
in the
got
end,
to
that's what we
order
decided.
one. Now I got to order one and wear it around San Antonio, Texas.
It was kind of breaking up. It sounded like you said you have to order 100. Oh, okay. I'll put you down for 100. Don't worry.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We must have a satellite that's having a storm or something.
Yeah, it's I can still hear you pretty well, but it is freezing up. What's your favorite Bible scripture? I know
Hebrews
it's hard
Hebrews
to
11.
choose one. There you go.
It's
Nice.
not by sight, it's by faith, man. You got
Yeah.
to step out in faith. If you could see everything that was going to happen and God told you everything that was
Yeah.
going to happen, why would we keep going? We would just go, it's going to be ours. He wants us to work towards that
Yeah.
goal, and he wants us to win as many people over as we can. And so you'll never pitch again. Or yeah, I'll throw harder. You're never going to walk again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get better. Oh, you've got Parkinson's. You're just going to get sicker and sicker. Oh, you don't have Parkinson's. How is that possible? It never happens. God can do anything.
Yeah.
People can do one or two things at a time. But nothing has ever occurred to God. He knows all.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially times like this, I think there's a lot of people that are searching for messages like this. And they're not going to necessarily find it on social media. They're not going to find it in the news. Um, and there's a lot of people that have reached out to me after a podcast, and they'll say, "Hey, I heard you and your guest talking about faith, and that really hit me. And I just want to let you know that I'm starting to get back into reading my Bible or trusting more in when I hear, for like God speaking to me and really focusing and listening to that." So um, times like this, people are really out there searching for something, and it's easy to find the wrong message. It's easy to fall into that.
Well, you got a lot of people going, why did God do this?
Yeah.
God didn't do this, but God will take it and he
Yeah.
will make something good out of it.
Yep. Especially if we allow it to, it will turn into a positive. Of course, a lot of bad things have happened, but there's always something that we can look at and find a positive. Like for me, I was pretty much addicted to the gym, and I thought, oh, that's a good thing to be addicted to. I'm staying healthy, but these 2 months, I haven't been to the gym once because it's been closed, and I really haven't been working out at home. And before, if I didn't go to the gym like 2 or 3 days, I was just, I couldn't sit still. I was starting to get cranky at home. So I would tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go to the gym because I'm not feeling very well. But these last 2 months, I've really had to look at myself and say, was I going to the gym because I wanted to be healthy, or was I just trying to get?
And you found out you could work out at home.
Yeah. Man, I could not work out at home. I tried that, but it was not for me.
You know what? I listened to a guy here. He's in North Carolina, Stephen Furtick.
Yeah.
And the other day he had this message. He's like, what, you can't do push-ups at home? You can't do leg lifts? You can't run? You can't walk? You can't jump rope?
And my answer would be no. I could. I just I told my wife I'm going to let my body recover. I was dealing with so much shoulder pain and back pain and knee problems and stuff with all the chronic illness and
Yeah.
things like that. And I would go for a run here and there, and I went to the park and did a couple pull-ups, and I tried working out at home. But I told my wife I'm going to let my body recover. I want to feel myself getting better and be able to look at myself, and when I'm feeling cranky, be able to do something about it besides going to the gym. So it's been a blessing for me, but I'm excited. Monday gym's open back up here, so
Oh, that's awesome. We can't admit that something bigger than us is at work in this world, and it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it looks like everything's going to start opening back up everywhere. So hopefully everything runs smooth from there. And I wanted to ask, Ride to Restoration. Talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
One day in church in 2015, I got this vision, and it was telling me, you need to start this foundation. We're going to go fix this. We're going to go fix that. We're going to ride our bike across America. We're going to take our book with us that I hadn't finished because I didn't have an ending.
Yeah.
And I look back at that, and that is another thing I thought about today, Honor, as I was running and thinking and listening to my music. Ride to Restoration. I took it as meaning go out and fix people. And then I looked at myself in the mirror and I went,
Sorry, you kind of
I
froze on me after you said ride to restoration.
ride to restoration. I thought, I'm going to go out and I'm going to fix people. But today it finally hit me, and I guess God clicked the right button, and I went, this was my ride to get well. This was my restoration. This was me getting better. And so ride to restoration, what I thought it meant was something totally different than what God was trying to tell me. And I thought I was supposed to go out and do stuff for other people, but I was still too sick and too much in the middle of things at that time. It was to fix me and get me back on track. So now I could finish the book, and now I can go out and I can help people. And now I can show them you can have a chronic illness and you can get better. Is it going to work for everybody? Honestly, I have no idea, and I doubt it. But you know what? It worked for me. And it's my story, and it's my faith. And I don't push my faith on anybody, but I don't shy away from it either. So ride to restoration meant one thing in my mind, but to God it meant something totally different.
Yeah, I was excited when I was reading about that. That sounds like something that's going to be amazing. And it was kind of breaking out, so I couldn't hear everything you were saying about it. But is that still something you're planning on doing in a bike ride, or is it something different now?
I think it's different because I think God meant you're going to be restored. I was taking it as I need to go out and do this for people. And he goes, you need to restore yourself first.
Yeah.
And so now I can go out and help people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's interesting how when we have a vision for one thing, quickly it can be shifted to something else, and it usually turns out to be something a lot better.
Yeah. God has a lot better imagination than I have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what's next for you? What's the next chapter of your life? What do you have left to do?
I don't know. God's going to show me the way. For a few years now, Sean and I have talked about we need to start doing things virtually. We need to have virtual meetings. That way we don't have to go through airports as much, and we don't have to travel as much. And we can do meetings here and go into our room and work out and do whatever we want. And then Corona hit. Then we were forced into that world. And at 56, doing stuff with social media was a challenge for me, because when I talk to audiences, I feed off the energy that they give me back when I'm talking to them. This is something totally different, and I've just got to motor through. But now we've done 9 or 10 virtual meetings. We've done a whole lot of Zoom calls and podcasts. I'm getting used to it. It's fun. I can have a nice shirt on and a jacket, and I can have shorts on if I want to, and nobody knows.
I got sweats on underneath. Yep.
There you go. And it's God showing us what can be. He's going to take lemons and make lemonade out of something that everybody else is going, this is the end. He goes, no, this is just the beginning. It's just something different.
Yeah. We just have to be open to it. You know, everything it depends how you look at it. For some people, it is the end because they don't want to push past it. They're like, hey, nothing I can do. All right, it's the end. But if you keep pushing and keep looking for different ways to do something new, something different, there's no end to what we're able to do.
Exactly. And here's where it starts. And I wanted to say this, and I want to say it to everybody I talk to. We've got to stop judging what other people are doing and take care of ourselves. Because until we get ourselves straight, we can't look at somebody else and go, you need to do this or you need to do that, when we should have a mirror in front of our face talking to ourselves. And so the judgment needs to stop, and we need to be nice. My grandfather had this saying, I love it: treat other people like you would have your grandmother treated.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
That's so simple, but it's true. And so often we get our egos in the way, and we want to go to battle over something that is so small it's ridiculous, instead of just smiling and acknowledging it and going, you know what, maybe that is something I need to work on. Because
Yeah.
everybody's fallen. Not one, not two, everybody. Only one perfect person has ever walked this planet, and it ain't you and it ain't me.
No, no. Yeah, that's true. We need to focus on what we need to do before we try to improve others or tell others what to do. We got to focus on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it seems to be that the storm might be getting worse or something because the video and audio is chopping up a little bit more. So that might be our cue to wrap this up. But I wanted
We
to
can wrap
ask.
it up for now if you want, or
Okay.
you can talk to Lori and we can redo some of the stuff you want to do because I don't know how much stuff cut out. I know you froze a lot, and I want
Okay.
this to be good. I want this to be good for you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll take a look at all the video and audio today, and if the audio is still good and the video is not as good, I might just release it in the audio, but I would like to release it with full audio and video. But I'll take a look at everything, and then I'll get back to you and see if there's anything we might need to redo when there's no storm going on.
Sure. What is the last
Yeah.
question you wanted to ask me?
The last one is you talked about a delicious pea salad that your grandfather used to make, right? So.
My grandfather made this pea salad for every holiday. And I'm going to be honest with you. I will send you the recipe. It takes about 2 hours to make. It has got
Yes,
so
that
many
was what I want to tell
ingredients in
you
it.
about.
It,
That
it.
was my
By the
last
time you
question. If
get
you're able
done,
to
it has
share that.
more stuff in it than peas, but it is delicious. And even my daughter, who hates peas, loves this pea salad.
Yes. All right. Perfect. We ended on a good note. Can't wait to get that
Awesome.
recipe.
If you need
All
anything
right,
else, let
sir.
me know and we can fix whatever it is we need to fix. And you can put it out there because I want this to
Okay.
help you keep the cross on your
Yes.
clothes. And
Always. Always.
uh,
And keep
awesome.
keep
I love
keep
what you
sharing
stand for.
faith in those messages. Yeah, likewise, sir. After I watched your movie, after I read your book, I was like, man, it's going to be an honor to. I was. My wife was like, why are you so nervous? I was like, I'm just so excited to have him on. After watching the movie and everything in your book, how you share everything so openly, that was just amazing. So it really means a lot to me to have you on, and I appreciate your time. And I'm going to get this out there to as many people as I can.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get you a copy, a signed copy of the book when we get them. I'll autograph one for you.
That would be great. That would be great. I really appreciate that. And I'll probably purchase a few and do some giveaways on my Instagram and my Facebook, for my followers to get some books out there for them as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you very much. God bless.
Yes, sir.
Stay
God
safe, and
bless.
I'm sure we'll talk again. All right.
Absolutely. Have a blessed day, man.
You too.